If you're trying to break into data analytics while working full time, balancing friends and family, and managing life in general, and you just feel like there's just not enough time. That was me. Too many responsibilities, too many ideas, and feeling like I'm a few steps behind on everything that I wanted to learn or build. But there's one AI skill that changed everything for me. It helped me buy back hours in my week to learn faster, finish work faster, and finally get progress on the career that I wanted. It was through prompting and diving deeper into prompting. And here's what most people miss. Prompting isn't just a shortcut, it's a skill that compounds. The better that you get at, the more useful your tools become. And with every new update to AI, this one skill becomes even more valuable. So this was a two-part series. In part one, I showed you the basics, how to get better answers through the three R's: role, request, and response. The three R's are simple, general purpose way to structure prompts. And for most tasks, they'll dramatically improve what you get from tools like ChatGPT. But once you start to use AI often, especially for real analysis, portfolio work, upskilling, for everything, you want more control, more consistency, and better results. This is where this video comes in. I'm going to show you how to optimize your prompts further using advanced techniques, prompt anatomy, so that you know you're not just using AI faster, but you're using it smarter. And if you've ever heard anyone say that ChatGPT is just predicting the next word, stick around because I'll explain why that's technically true, but also why it's wildly misleading. And understanding this will help you understand and help you prompt more effectively. I'm Jeff. I started in data entry 15 years ago, then became a data analyst. Then I'm now a business analyst consultant at a Fortune 500 company. Now I'm on a mission to help 10,000 people break into data analytics by showing them how to use tools the right way, especially AI. So if you're serious about standing out and working smart in 2025, hit that subscribe button and let's dive in. Let's start with the what to do part, prompting strategies that help you get better results depending on the task. These are called prompting techniques, and each of them is designed for various scenarios and situations. The first one is going to be zero shot prompting. This is what most people use. You're just going to use this as a quick, no frills answer or question that you're going to be asking these chatbots for a simple task. Basically, you just give it simple one-line instructions. You don't provide examples, you don't add structure, you don't give it context or role. Example is just explain linear regression in plain English. Why this works, it's simple, it's fast, but it's generic and inconsistent if your task needs more structure and nuance. But it's great before fast, simple prompting. And you just want to use this as the starting point because most people start here, but you need to refine that. And that's what we did in the previous video with the three R's. Now we move into more structure within our prompting. So if you went from zero shot prompting, the next step is going to be few shot prompting. You want to use this when you want a specific style, tone, or structure repeated. And the way that you apply this is you're going to give AI about 1 to 2 examples, then ask it to match the format that you use. So an example of this is, say you're working on a resume bullet and you want to improve it, but you gave a generic bullet and you just said responsible for generating reports. That was your before. Now your after is automated Excel reports using VBA, saving 6 hours a week. Rewrite the next bullet using the same style. So you gave it few shots. You gave it the before, you gave it the after, and then that's the example in the format that you want AI to follow. The more examples that you give of the before and the after and how you want it to convert, the better the AI will get at giving the output that you want. So this works well for having consistent formats, and LLMs are pattern machines. So a few strong examples are going to lead to more consistent output. This brings us to an advanced technique called chain of thought prompting. You're going to use this when you're trying to solve a problem that requires logic, steps, or structured reasoning. And then the way that you apply it is you're going to ask AI to think step by step or walk through each decision, each timeline, and the constraints that are coming before them and coming after them. So an example of this would be, let's solve this step by step. First, identify the variables, and then second, define the regression equation. So that's just a simple example. You can add as many steps as you need for solving the problem that you're tasked with. This works because it helps slow down the model down and encourages clear logic and lets it have more structure and context. Now, Bringing in more context brings us to 4, which is self-critique prompting. So this is what you're going to do when you want AI to improve a rough AI draft. You're going to ask the model to review its own output and suggest its own improvements, then rewrite that output based on its own feedback. So an example of this is critique your last response. What would make it better? Now rewrite it using that feedback. The model can often diagnose and fix its own weaknesses if it prompted clearly. And we've seen ChatGPT do this behind the scenes. And this is also how AI learns how to play chess, how to play complex games like StarCraft and Go, and then iterates and comes up with its own techniques. This is one of the ways that it does this, but this is more simple instructions, but you can get as detailed as you need. And then another advanced prompting technique is persona prompting, which is what we learned previously when you apply a role, but we're going to dive into it a little bit deeper. This is when you use this when you want the AI to speak from a specific role to a specific audience. Here, you assign the model a role, you describe who it's speaking to, and then you can also give it tone guidance. So previously, we just assigned it the role, but now you can talk about who that role is speaking to, and then you get more structured content. And by using this by itself alone, I'm able to get significantly better output just from my digital marketing knowledge, from the experts from that I would want to learn from, or say it like I'm coming from a director, or if this technical person was approaching it, how would they give me feedback on my code? So this is one of those ways where you can build this in and make it significantly better for what you want it. An example of this is you are a technical writer, explain what an API is to a hiring manager using simple language and real world examples. So here you want to frame around the persona so that it can change the tone, the context, the knowledge, the depth of the knowledge, the focus, which makes output significantly more relevant. And framing around these techniques will help you work faster, explain better, and build more outputs, especially as you try to break into a data analyst roles. You can use this literally for everything that you're doing, into how to break into data analytics faster, prepping for interviews, analyzing your resume, everything that you would need. You can have it take on that role and help coach you and make all your different assets in your portfolio pieces better, or give you advice on those portfolio pieces. To get the most out of these, let's dive in a little bit deeper. You need to understand how the prompts are also interpreted. And that's where we're going to talk about prompt structure or prompt anatomy. So prompt anatomy, the way that I've learned it, and a lot of the stuff that I'm learning is in preparation for the AWS AI practitioner certification, which I'm taking now and studying with a friend. And then you don't have to apply it to everything, but just when you want more thorough output. The 5 elements are: first is going to be instruction. What do you want the AI to do? Second is going to be context. The third is going to be examples. Think of few shot. You want to give as many examples as you need so that you can have as consistent results as possible. Then output format. You want to force the structure of how the AI is going to write it. And then you add in negative prompting. Tell it what not to do. So if we were to put this all together, instruction would be: summarize this Slack thread in 3 bullets. Adding more context, you're writing this for a healthcare executive who hates jargon. Examples for few shot: here's how I wrote one sentence, match this style, and then you give it the examples. Output format: respond in this table with 2 columns, with first column being insight and the second column being next step. Negative prompting: do not say you're an AI, just answer it directly. This will give you significantly better output and will get you to your goals significantly faster. So at this point, a question that I do get is, how do techniques and the anatomy of a prompt work together? So you want to think about this. Prompting techniques are going to be like your high-level strategy, and then your prompt anatomy is the structure that makes that strategy work. So you want to experiment with the strategies inside the context and placing them in different areas so that you can get the best output that you can. Even if your prompt is solid and your output looks great, one rule still applies. AI is like a brilliant, confident intern. They speak with authority, but they can still make things up. This is what's known as a hallucination. When the model gives you fake data, made up logics, quotes, and it sounds good, but falls apart under deeper scrutiny. So how you want to reduce hallucinations and also handle more complex prompts safely, first step is just be more specific in your request. Ask it to explain how it got the results. I do this a lot. Show me your math step by step, and I break down very, very complex requests and projects section by section. Because if I give it everything at once, it's going to mess up somewhere because language could be vague. It interprets it in certain ways, and the way that it does the math, bringing to all the different steps, it's easy for things to get lost. So I break it down, and I want to see and know what their assumptions are. I'll ask, can you cite your sources? What logic are you using? What assumptions are you basing this on? With really complex analysis, if you don't know, on my personal YouTube channel, I built a channel on crypto, and I did a lot of financial analysis and did a lot of deep dives there. But I would use AI, but the math would be off. So then it would give me a good idea of the analysis, and then I would check the math and put it into my own models in Excel, and then I would fix and correct the math. You can do this line by line and then just double check the math as you go. And that's one thing I found to make it work better. But just know that when it's really complex, you want to check the reasoning and the math behind it. Unless AI is plugged into browsing and has those agents and has those tools, if it's not, it's probably not going to be pulling live data. It's estimating based on its model and training data. So you also have to check the stats, the functions, facts, because things could have changed with updated data. And then if you're using the paid version, you can always ask it to do a search to get the most updated data and then reassess your analysis based on that. The other thing you want to consider is that you want to use AI for your drafts and not your ultimate decision. So AI can write, brainstorm, format, structure, but relying it for its final conclusions or unverified analysis, you want to be thorough. You want to double check everything, and then the final analysis, you just want to see that it makes sense. So I always just think of AI as I'm collaborating with AI, but ultimately it's up to me. And I think of myself as a manager, it's up to me to verify that this all makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, we have to go back. But if anything goes wrong, I have to take the fall for it. I'm the one who has to present and take accountability, like I was a manager at our company. So that's how I always think about it, is that I need to double check the work and that this is on me if any of this is wrong. And then same thing like this question that we asked earlier. Show your calculations that you used, explain how you chose that metric. What would change if this assumption was wrong? What are the risks inside your logic? Where else can you be wrong? Are you hallucinating anything? Look back at your analysis. Here, you want to catch these errors early and that's key, and before the wrong logic infects the entire analysis, which is a pain when it does that, because then at that point, if you've been working for it for a long time and it affects that whole chain of thought, then you have to start over. In most of the cases, I had to start over. So what I do is I break things down, and then I put the chunks of different analysis into Notion, and I piece together the analysis. Then I double check the math. I work with AI. I double check things. I do it manually, and I'll be like, this number looks wrong. Can you double check this? And then if it still can't do the computational math and the analysis, I will do it myself. I'll put it into a model. I will open up a different AI and then work through just that single section till we get it accurate. So those are just some of the things that I'm doing. And then also, there's one thing that I've seen people just talk about, and it's the thing that people say AI is just predicting the next word, the probability, and then that it's just going to give you the highest probability sentence for the prompt that you ask. Yes, this is a common thing that I hear people throw out. ChatGPT is just predicting next word. So while this is technically true, that description is wildly misleading, especially if you have not dived into how LLMs work and all the different complex algorithms and machine learning, deep learning, and NLP that is inside there and how they map this. ChatGPT and all these other LLM models are trained on billions of examples from books, research papers, documentation, code bases, and more. So it doesn't just guess randomly, it builds these statistical relationships between words, concepts, context, audience, tone, logic, structure, plus significantly more. It's wild when you look at what, because we're going through it right now. It's wild what people had to go through to build out these models. Then it also adds in transformer based neural networks to model the meaning behind these flows across sentences, which is how it can write poems, debug SQL, summarize meetings, and then explain API technical integrations to a 10-year-old. On top of that, these models are reinforced and also retrained using human feedback, ranked output, structured evaluation so that the most relevant, helpful, and accurate responses are favored. And that's what they're trained on, and that's what you get. So, yes, technically it's just predicting the next word, but that's like saying Google is just a website that shows links. It's deeper than that. While it's true you're missing out on the entire ecosystem of intelligence, data, and structure underneath by just relegating it to that one sentence. So whenever I hear people hear that, I was like, they don't understand what's actually happening with AI behind the scenes. So if you've ever been skeptical about how AI actually works with coming up with responses, you're not alone. This helped me understand not just how AI works, but why it can be such an effective tool when used right. Because most of the time, the answers you need are already inside the model. The real challenge is learning how to uncover them, because when you use the right prompts, the right structure, the right technique, tools like ChatGPT can give you incredible clarity, speed, and insights across any problem that you're trying to solve. So now that you've become more of a power user, especially if you've seen the last video combining it with this, and you can refine your prompts, you see why it matters. Now, applying this skill consistently on a daily basis for a long period of time will compound your productivity and how much time that you save and how much the advice that ChatGPT gives or these other chatbots will save you. So it gives you an edge for breaking into data analytics in your interviews, your job, and how quickly you can grow into this new career, but also in future careers and for your life in general. Don't forget, Data Camp's 50% annual sale ends tonight, May 29th at 11:59 Eastern. If you're looking to upgrade and want to lock in the annual offer, try it for free, see if it's the right fit, and then upgrade if that makes sense before the deadline. And if it's after the date, check anyways, because they run sales year round. And if you're still trying to figure out how to actually start, what to learn, where to focus, and how to get real experience, don't miss my next video where I talk about how I'd become a data analyst today if I were starting over. So check it out now. And until next time, query responsibly.